We come to expect the best from actors whenever we go watch a film, and that's also what actors strive for. But sometimes actors take that very far, which might be commendable at first glance, but just wait until you see how far. And you'd want to consider how far you really want actors to push themselves for a role. Is it worth to end up in the hospital, or to start having actual hallucinations? Here are some shocking instances of actors who went too far for their role, and we guarantee you'll never be able to see their roles in these films the same ever again. Sylvester Stallone in Rocky IV. No matter how much we love them, a lot of boxing scenes from the Rocky films certainly do look fairly unrealistic, and that is something which Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren were rather well aware of as they were shooting Rocky IV, which was the third sequel in the famous franchise. So during the filming of one of those scripted fights, Stallone and Lundgren decided that it might be a good idea to actually start throwing in real punches. However, as luck would leave it, this quest for realism landed Stallone in the hospital for 2 whole months after a punch from Lundgren hit so hard that it ended up causing his heart to swell. Jim Carrey became Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman was well known for frequently acting so much in character that people wouldn't be able to tell when he was actually not performing. Thus, it makes quite an odd sense that Jim Carrey would also do the same thing when he was playing Kaufman in the film Man on the Moon. But it wasn't enough for Carrey to merely emulate Kaufman's voice and mannerisms. He would act just like Kaufman constantly, even if the cameras weren't rolling, and he refused to break character entirely, even to his family. Carrey has even made claims that it was as if Kaufman's spirit had possessed him, which is something that's just downright freaky. Daniel Day-Lewis in Last of the Mohicans. With 3 Academy Awards under his belt, Daniel Day-Lewis is fairly well known for getting lost in the characters that he's portraying on screen. And that's just the case when he was starring in Michael Mann's film back in 1992, the historical epic The Last of the Mohicans, set in colonial America during a war between the French and British. Day-Lewis was reported to have been living off the land for the complete duration of the film's shooting, only consuming what he managed to kill or find himself. And in fact, he learned how to make canoes as well as how to throw tomahawks. Unfortunately though, reports also suggested that the actor went through a struggle to leave the character after the film's shooting had wrapped up, and ended up seeking professional help after starting to suffer from claustrophobia and hallucinations. Leonardo DiCaprio went native. A few years ago in 2016, a popular internet meme died as Leonardo DiCaprio finally won his much-awaited Oscar. The actor decided to go all out for his role in The Revenant, and that is not merely by spending a lot of time in the woods. If the shoot that involved him dunking in freezing cold water wasn't enough for him, DiCaprio, who is a proud vegetarian, actually ate raw bison. He also slept in animal carcasses so he could prepare for the scene in which his character also does the same thing. He might be a very good-looking and fortunate man, but never try to claim that DiCaprio hasn't taken any suffering for the sake of his art. Christian Bale from The Machinist. This is probably the most extreme case of film-related weight loss one may ever come across. Christian Bale lost a staggering 27 kilograms in his preparation to play Trevor Resnick in the 2004 psychological horror called The Machinist, and it took him only 6 weeks to manage to bulk up into the physique which he would be sporting for his debut performance as Batman in the acclaimed Batman Begins film. I was intrigued by a perverse nature of mine just to see if I can go beyond what I've been told is actually safe and okay, and see if I could push the limits, Bale was quoted as saying about this crazy situation. Morgan Robbie turned into a skater. One can be forgiven for not expecting Morgan Robbie to become a serious method actor. However, the gorgeous Australian star silenced the doubters and critics with her performance in I, Tonya. To be able to play Tonya Harding, Robbie trained over 6 hours every day at skating, with plenty of bruises to show for it. She also went through a physical transformation to be able to look like Harding, all the while still keeping up with the skating. As a matter of fact, Robbie injured her neck pretty badly during a fall that thankfully didn't turn out to be serious. While it was CGI that pulled off the better skating moves, it was Robbie who managed to pull off the transformation. Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now. If you remember the scene at the beginning of Apocalypse Now in which Martin Sheen's Captain Willard goes nuts and ends up punching a mirror, well, let me break a side detail that there wasn't all that much acting involved in that entire scenario. Sheen, who was also battling alcoholism in his own personal life, was drunk as the cameras had started rolling, and he landed a punch on a real glass mirror when he was actually freaking out, and that led him to start bleeding everywhere. Yikes. Tom Hanks transformed into a true castaway. Castaway began its filming way back in 1998, with Tom Hanks gaining an extra 50 pounds to play his role as a mailman that ends up stranded upon an island. The filming was delayed after that for a year so Hanks could lose not only all that weight he'd gained, but also another 20 pounds in addition to growing his hair and beard very long. He would also put himself out in the sun to get a real burnt tan, and even ended up getting a staph infection, but he also refused the medicine that his character wouldn't have. Hanks barely ever goes full method, but this was truly remarkable. Adrian Brody Brody in The Pianist. He not only became the youngest actor to win the Academy Award for Best Actor, but Adrian Brody also made sure that his performance as the Holocaust survivor, Vladislav Spilman, in the critically acclaimed film The Pianist, was as authentic as he could possibly make it, and he did that by completely losing himself into the character he was playing. Apart from dropping almost 14 kilograms in his weight, Brody also learned to play the piano through practice for hours every day. Not just that, but the actor also revealed that he entirely left his life in the United States behind, saying that he had given up his apartment and sold his car and disconnected his phones, and after that, he just left. He only took 2 bags and his keyboard and moved to Europe. When Jamie Foxx took up blindness. Having to play a blind person is always tricky. However, playing a blind musical icon is at another level. To be able to handle the role of Ray Charles in Ray, Jamie Foxx not only just taught himself to mimic Charles' style of piano playing and speech, he wore special coverings which basically glued his eyes to remain shut 14 hours a day, due to which he was truly blind for that duration. Not just that, Foxx also lost 30 pounds for his role during the period in which Charles was a heroin addict and even had his teeth chipped to look like Charles's. He won the Oscar for his great performance, as many hailed Foxx for turning into the famed musician. Halle Berry in Jungle Fever. Spike Lee thought that Halle Berry was far too pretty to be able to play the drug addict in Vivian in the 1991 film called Jungle Fever, but this wouldn't put Berry off. Rather, the future Academy winner ended up going to extreme lengths so that she could ensure that she would deliver a realistic performance. Not only did Berry do her research for her role throughout spending time in an actual drug den, but she also confirmed that she didn't wash 2 entire weeks prior to the starting of the shoot, about which she said, "It's true. Ask Sam Jackson. He had to get a whiff of it." We all think acting is a pretty glamorous job, but who considers the kind of dedication and efforts our favorite actors put into the performances they give us? Who do you think went too far out of all these that we listed? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. See you in the next one.